webinar is entitled Achieving ACA or Compliance with SunGard, K-12, and Content360. So while we're waiting for the last couple of people to join us, I just want to let everyone know that this webinar will be recorded, and a link will be sent to each of the registrants in the next day or so once the video is compiled and uploaded to our website. And as you may have already noticed during the presentation, because we've got such a large group with us, everyone's line is going to be muted. If you would like to ask a question, or if you have a problem hearing me or seeing my screen, please use the chat window. It's going to be located either on the right side of your screen or via the WebEx drop-down menu, which should be in the top center portion of your screen. During the course of the presentation, we will obviously receive those questions, and at the end, we should have plenty of time to answer as many of those as we are able to. So this webinar, if you've attended any of our webinars in the past, this is going to be a little more informational in nature. So we're just kind of making sure that SunGard clients are able to understand what's involved in ACA compliance and how we're able to address that. So we're not going to be showing a lot of software, and we're likely going to be running a bit shorter than the scheduled runtime of 30 minutes. So with that being said, let's get started with our topic for today. And first, we're going to take a few minutes just to level set with terminology. I want to make sure that everyone is on the same page with all the Affordable Care Act jargon going on around there. And then we're going to look at some of the specifics involved with what it takes to be compliant. So what are the deadlines? What are the penalties? And then we're going to take a look at how Content360, Content360 is the product from Harvest Technology Group. It's an enterprise document management solution integrated with SunGard, how it and Finance Plus and Business Plus are going to help with the paperwork involved in making sure your district is compliant. And finally, we're going to provide a list of additional resources and some next steps for where you can go for more information around this topic. I think it's also at the outset important to mention what we're not going to be covering. So the Affordable Care Act compliance is a really broad topic, and we could probably spend the rest of the week going into all the different nuances around it. So we're not going to be covering anything around the insurance aspect of the Affordable Care Act. So if you have questions about insurance, I'm going to assume that your district's Human Resources Department already has an ACA-approved insurance plan. I'm also not going to be going into any really specific or legal type advice. As the saying goes, I'm not an attorney. I didn't play one on TV, and I didn't say it at Holiday Inn Express last night. So anything that we're providing here is strictly for an informational basis, and hopefully that will keep my legal department happy. So who are we? And just so you know, Harvest Technology Group and me personally have been working with SunGard since 2001. We've got a lot of experience around the areas of compliance and managing forms and helping SunGard K-12 clients eliminate paper. There's unique challenges to each to each SunGard K-12 client. We help them, we've worked with them, we understand what you're facing on a day-to-day basis and how to go paperless. So the solution that we're offering, Content360, can help solve the challenges of the Affordable Care Act compliance, as well as in a larger term, taking your entire district in a more paperless environment. So what is ACA compliance? I'm sure you guys are probably familiar with this as of now. But the mandate actually began in 2010. The first reporting aspects of it, which is really where we're going to be focusing, happened in early 2016, reporting on what was taking place in the 2015 calendar year. So your school district, as an employer, along with your insurance company, are required to submit information to the IRS in a similar fashion to how you submit W-2s and 1099s today. And the information that you submit will be used to determine if your district offered the appropriate levels of insurance to employees in 2015 and to determine if your employees participated in your insurance programs. So those are the two big pieces that they're interested in from a reporting perspective. For smaller employees, there's a little bit of a carrot involved with the big stick, and that there could be some tax credits coming back to you based upon the level of insurance you provided to your employees. Again, for this webinar, we're not going to talk about insurance. We're going to go into how we can help with the reporting aspects. So the first questions we ask is, does the ACA affect my school district? And this is a pretty easy criteria to determine. Two quick questions. Does your school district have over 50 full-time employees? Most of them do. A full-time employee by IRS definitions is any employee who has worked more than 30 hours or more per week for any month of the year, more than 120 days in a year. Does your school district have more than 50 full-time employees? If your school district has under 50 full-time employees, did it provide health insurance in 2015? If you can answer yes to either one of these questions, then you do have a reporting requirement to the IRS for your health insurance. So looking at what forms are required, if you do have a reporting requirement, what and how you report is going to be based upon the number of full-time employees and the type of insurance you provided. So small employers, less than 50 FTEs, if you have what's known as a fully funded insurance policy, and a fully funded insurance policy is what I'm going to assume most school districts have. This is where your employer is providing insurance to the employees. If you're under 50 FTEs, the insurance provider is required to submit the forms to the IRS. There's no requirement for you to report. If you have, or if you're self-insured and under 50 FTEs, then the employer is required to file the 1095Bs to the individuals and 1094Bs and 1095Bs to the IRS. If you're less than 50 FTEs and you provide no insurance, then there's nothing to file. For large employers, whether or not you're fully funded, which means you have a traditional employer-sponsored insurance policy, whether or not you're self-insured, or if you offer no insurance, you have to submit forms 1095C and 1094C to the IRS, 1095C to your full-time employees. So basically, if your school district has more than 50 FTEs, or had in some combination more than 50 FTEs during the course of 2015, then there is a recording requirement. Obviously, most SunGard K-12 school districts fall into the large and fully funded insurance category, meaning that there is requirements to report to the IRS. Keep in mind, if you have not seen the 1095C or 1094C forms for the IRS, these don't just list the employee information. These list all covered individuals. So that is spouses and children of the employees in most cases. It also lists their Social Security numbers and date of birth. So these documents themselves need to be secured. They open up a greater potential for liability than just regular payroll documents, because the amount of information and the number of people that it's reporting information on is dramatically increased. Now the deadlines for filing. So forms to the employees must be delivered to the employees on by February 1st, 2016. It's originally January 31st, but that's a Sunday, so the requirement rolls into February 1st, which is a Monday. Forms submitted to the IRS, if they are printed, and they can only be printed and mailed to the IRS if you have less than 250 FTEs, are due by February 29th, leap year. If you're filing electronically, which is mandatory for school districts with more than 250 FTEs, the due date is March 31st, 2016. Again, most school districts have more than 250 FTEs or some combination of 250 FTEs throughout the course of 2015. And the good news is both Business Plus and eFinance Plus will allow you to file those electronically in a similar fashion to how you're filing W-2s at this point in time. The penalties. So the stick, on the other side of the carrot, is that for each form that you miss per FTE, there's a penalty of $250. So if you were to miss both deadlines, both the deadline for submitting the documents to the employee and to the employer and to the IRS, it's a $500 per FTE. So some pretty hefty fines if we're not able to meet these compliance. And the good news is SunGard has been obviously very proactive and is providing the means by which we can achieve this compliance in conjunction with Content360 if you choose to go that route. So let's take a look at what is required for form generation. And for the rest of these slides, when we're talking in more specifics, I'm going to be breaking these down between eFinance Plus and Business Plus. We've got a nice mix of both users on the call this afternoon. So eFinance Plus, just like you're generating W-2s and creating W-2s at the end of the year, the ACA forms are going to be generated by your Optio software. These forms are part of the standard year-end form pack, which, breaking news, is available today, I'm told. So when you load that form pack, which includes W-2s and 1099s, it will update the ACA, or upload the ACA forms for you. In order to generate the data required to populate those forms, it's going to require the latest update for your version of eFinance Plus 4.3 to 5.1, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. From the Business Plus side, those forms are going to be generated the same as your W-2s. Again, this is going to require an update to Business Plus, which can be downloaded, and we'll talk about that in a little more detail as well. So the form creation is going to be very similar to how you're generating W-2s and 1099s through your year-end processes. The difference is that the data will be obviously different based upon your insurance information. So what are we going to do with these documents after we have created them? So the ACA forms, just like other payroll documents, are records. They have to be kept for a specific period of time. And when I say the standard ACA form approach, what I mean by that is it's just what you're currently doing within using standard functionality within eFinance Plus and with Business Plus. So the 1095Cs or 1094Cs that are generated that need to be accessed by employees, the data itself will be stored inside of Employee Access Center. The forms can then be regenerated on demand, much like payroll documents and other information inside of Employee Access Center. For Business Plus, Business Plus utilizes Docs Online. It's actually storing the image of those documents. I have heard also that now the documents are going to be stored, for the ACA documents are going to be stored as individual attachments related to each employee in Employee Online instead of one giant link. So hopefully that will provide you with the information that we need from a form storage perspective. Looking at retention schedules, so as we previously mentioned, the ACA forms are legal payroll records. They've got to be kept as long as your state requires you to for retention periods. So for most states, the minimum retention schedule is around 4 years. It definitely varies state to state. This slide is from ADP. It's a little bit dated, so check with your state's registrar's current information for how long you need to be storing these documents. But the overall idea is that this information, these are payroll records. These are documents that need to be stored. You want to make sure that you are not storing them for longer than required. And if, God forbid, the IRS attorneys or auditors come knocking, you've got to be able to provide these records or prove that they were properly destroyed according to your state's retention policies. Now, one more quick note about destruction of documents, and this applies not just to payroll records, really to all records. You have to make sure that you have a systematic approach to document destruction at the end of the life cycle and not a selective approach. So if you've destroyed one record, you need to be able to show that you destroyed all records of that class and that age, not just individual ones. So strong records management and retention policies are very important. So let's talk a little bit about advanced document management for the Affordable Care Act forms and other forms. So from a Content360 perspective, if you're a current Content360 client, or if you're a SunGard user looking for a more advanced option for document management, the ACA forms inside of Content360 is very, very straightforward. So Content360, as we mentioned earlier, is an enterprise-class document management solution that's integrated with Finance Plus and Business Plus. So any documents that are or ACA forms that are generated out of those solutions will automatically be captured, securely stored, and indexed at print time. So those forms are then automatically to your SunGard application. So if I'm in Business Plus, I click a button and I see all the documents related to this employee, including my 1095-C forms. If I'm in Finance Plus, again, clicking a button, I can retrieve all of the documents that are related to this employee record, not just the ACA forms or what has been generated by SunGard, but anything that was scanned into the system or emails that were dropped and dragged. All of those become part of my digital employee file, which is securely stored inside of Content360. Again, we can also set retention schedules on these documents, so making sure that the data that is stored is relevant and up to date at all times. If you want more information about document management in general or about how we work with the Affordable Care Act, you can go to harvesttg.com/human resources and visit that portion of our website. I'm going to show a couple of websites in the presentation. Remember, it's being recorded. You'll have a link to it, so no need to try and write those down if you're trying to copy that information. Okay, let's take a quick look at next steps. So if you're a Finance Plus user, again, I mentioned the year-end Optio Forms release is available today. It includes all of your normal year-end forms. Those will need to be uploaded into your Optio server into Finance Plus. For versions 4.3 through 5.1, there is an update of the software required. That is something that if you are not a hosted solution, you guys can manage internally or reach out to you can reach out to SunGard Services, and they'll be more than happy to assist you with that process. Hosted clients will receive, obviously, the update automatically. So for Business Plus users, again, an update of Business Plus is required. If you're on 7.9.7 or above, that update can be downloaded from the customer portal coming soon. Prior versions, you need to reach out to SunGard Services to discuss the upgrade. And obviously, we suggest you do this as soon as possible due to the pending deadlines coming up next month. For Content360 clients, if you're a current client and you want to be able to store ACA forms as part of your digital employee record, please reach out to us and let us know. We need to get those scheduled. There's some small tweaks that need to happen to the Optio documents in order for us to store those forms, and we need to create the correct content classes. As I mentioned earlier, if you want more information about records management or document management in general, or if you want to know how to store ACA content in a secure fashion, you can reach out to us as well, and we'll be happy to provide you that information. And so finally, additional resources. eFinance Plus resources, there is a weekly ACA roundtable call. This is hosted by Ms. Tammy Swain. It's every Tuesday at 11 o'clock. There is information I can provide regarding how to access that. It's a WebEx. These have been going on for quite some time now and will continue into the foreseeable future. But if you have questions regarding anything about the ACA forms, you can reach out to Tammy, or if you need that URL to join those roundtables, I can provide that or she can provide that as well. For Business Plus, there is a lot of information around the ACA upgrade process. It's all the seminar materials. They're via the customer portal under the training tab. So would highly recommend you go out and take a look at that information as well. Finally, if you want more general information about the Affordable Care Act, about any aspects of the Affordable Care Act, I highly recommend these two websites. You can go directly to the IRS website, but to be perfectly candid, I've spent a lot of time there navigating that. It's like setting the clock on your VCR. Really dating myself with that reference, but it can be very, very confusing. These two sites, the first one is the federal government business site. The second is under the research topics for ADP. So if you go to their website, go to tools and resources, resource topics, and then healthcare reform is the link. These two websites do a great job of breaking down the requirements into usable information. They have wizards, so you can calculate what's required from an insurance perspective. Great sources of information for those two documents. And if you have additional questions, also you can please reach out to me also. So if you have questions about anything that we have covered or have not covered, please let me know. I'll be more than happy to answer as many as we can. I have a question already from Dan. It's about applying a TCC code to submit 1099-Cs electronically to the IRS. Let's see. Dan, yeah, to be perfectly candid, I don't know the answer for this. That's something that, I think Tammy Swain, actually with SunGard, is on the phone. Tammy, if you don't mind, I'm going to unmute your line, and if you can answer for that question, sure. That would be phenomenal.
Sure, I'd be glad to. You need to apply for a TCC code in order to be able to file the electronic file. On the customer services website, if you're an eFinance Plus customer, under the release documents, there is a document there about that tells you what you need to do. And if you email me, I can email it back to you as well. But everybody has to apply for that TCC code so that they can then do the upload.
And Dan, so I've unmuted your line as well. Are there any additional questions that you have regarding that?
No, that's it for now. I'll follow up with Tammy.
Sounds good.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Okay. Any other questions from the audience? Any other information that you guys would like to know regarding SunGard and how we're operating with the ACA compliance? Go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and unmute the lines, so please feel free to ask, and if we could keep this in an orderly fashion, that would be fantastic. All right. Well, good. Well, Dan, thank you very much for your question. I appreciate it. Tammy, thank you very much for your answer. If you have additional information or if you have additional questions, my contact information is on the screen now. You can see our website. We do these webinars once a quarter for SunGard users. You can access them at harvesttt.com/webinars. I thank you very, very much for your attendance. I wish you a lot of luck and happy holidays. And if you, again, need assistance with any part of making your school district more efficient and more effective by eliminating paper and manual paper-based processes, please reach out to me. And thank you very much, everyone, and have a great and wonderful afternoon. Take care.